Hello, welcome to May 21st, 2022. My name is Kurt Bell, and this is my daily Good Life meditation. This is an exercise that I do each and every morning shortly after waking up to remind myself of my life objectives and principles, to enumerate them categorically and think about them a little bit, to see if they're sound, and to remember them so that I have them at the ready for the coming day. I also use this time to remember yesterday, the last 24 hours, and how I did in particular applying these objectives and principles to the challenges and opportunities of the day. Also then I finish with a forward look at the coming 24 hours to anticipate what challenges might lay ahead and what opportunities are there. Okay, let's begin with yesterday. It was a Friday off. I slept pretty good, actually. Despite, was that yesterday? No, it wasn't. I think I slept good because I'd gone to the doctor the day before to see about the pain that I was experiencing, the inside pain. And the doctor had told me that he didn't think it was anything more than getting old. A bundle of, the way he described it was an internal structural problem that develops at my age. And he had some recommendations, and I'm going to go in for an ultrasound. Speaking of which, I don't think I got the invitation for the ultrasound yet. I'll have to check my personal email, of course. That's why I didn't. I mean, I may have got it. I just didn't check. And then from there, so I slept good. I didn't have really too much to worry about at work. Except I did get up and work yesterday because I took 3 hours off I went over this. I took 3 hours off the day before. And so then I worked those 3 hours yesterday, and I did good. I worked a half an hour overtime on Thursday, just catch up. And then I did another 2.5. Oh, really, actually, it was another 3 hours yesterday. So they actually got an extra half hour out of me. My work did as a result, which is good as interest, right? I did good. I made a risk report, caught up on some important emails, and as a result, I had both my health thing and my work in a pretty settled state, and I actually slept in. I mean, I didn't sleep in, but I slept until the alarm went up. Feels like sleeping in. That's what sleeping in is to me. Sleeping until the alarm goes off. And I feel good. I feel very rested today. In addition, yesterday I had a pretty productive day. I went to see an old coworker friend. It's hard to believe that I've been back in the United States long enough that I can have old friends in this paradigm. I like the way that sounds. Old friends in a new paradigm. His career has gone well, and he's a man of some import in his current circumstance. And I went over and basically on my day off, I went to his place of work, and we just sat in his office. And he introduced me to some of his team, and we had a nice chat. Good chat. I was telling you, Miko, it's like having a friend like him. We both, at the time, we were both given a really big project to do. I was the project manager, and he ran another important part of the project. We were partners for sure. And in Japan, there's this idea that, like, if you go to school, and particularly elementary school, the early years together, no matter what happens later in life, you can always talk with one another in a more familiar manner. You don't have to worry about the Japanese formalities. There's a connection that runs deep because of the early years, because of the early bond. That's how I feel with this gentleman. So we had a nice, even though he's some of them of importance now. We had a nice, easy chat, familiar chat. And it's interesting that I can have that now in this new life. Because coming back to America is certainly something new. But I've been back now. What is it going on? Wait, hold on. Let me see if I figure this out. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, it's a full eight years now. Long enough to have old friends. Interesting. Maybe that's a sign that it's time to move on. Once you start accumulating, I'm in no way meaning to disparage old friends at all, but I think that's a sign that I've been in a place long enough, maybe, once I start to have chums. And boy, that brought back the memories, all that time, those early years, coming back and working. I saw the world so differently. Zero complacency. Negative complacency. That's an interesting one. It was so fresh and new and scared and desperate. And I couldn't possibly be comfortable in any settled sense, in any entitled sense. All the entitlement was on the other side. My employer was entitled to an excellent job for me. My community was entitled to me, for me to get it right. My family were entitled for me to succeed as a breadwinner. That's a good place to be, on the other end of entitlement. The giving end of entitlement. Sorry, just that good, interesting words. The giving end of entitlement. So we had a good chat. We didn't go to lunch. We just talked. Being a man of consequence, his work called him back. So I went on from there, and I had lunch myself. I had an expensive lunch. I went to I was looking for a nice Mexican joint. I wound up at Dickey's Barbecue. I had their poultry plate with chicken and turkey. $18. Man, everything was hot. Even the muffin was hot. The roll was hot. I can't say that I enjoyed it, and I don't know why I went there, because I've been to Dickey's Barbecue before and I didn't really like it. Just not my style. It's like country music, right? Yeah, it works for others, but it didn't work for me. And that barbecue plate just didn't. Doesn't mean I don't like barbecue. I just don't like that so much. And then from there I went to AAA and talked to them about a little trip I want to take with Yumiko. Otherwise, I wasn't challenged very much. I did have one moment. I pulled a fast one over my wife. We were doing something, and humans are different, right? And there was something that we were both engaged with that wasn't my cup of tea. And I did the best job yet of playing along. Usually in the past I would not be able to do that. It was only for 15 minutes. And if I could play along, it would make her happy. I did. And I don't think she saw through me, which is saying something. Because that woman knows me well. I was invoking the social principle, right? And temperance. And striving after good emotional reactions. And I pulled it off in every sense. Oh, I had a close encounter also with John Milton. Reading The Life of Samuel Johnson. One of the things Johnson did was, in one of his writing exploits, was he wrote the preface to he wrote the lives of the poets. I've got them all written over here. I'm going to read them next. And in Boswell's Life of Samuel Johnson, he quotes a little bit from Johnson quoting John Milton, namely Paradise Lost. And I had never read anything of Paradise Lost. And the bit that he quoted was, holy crap, good. Literally, I was walking the dogs, walking along a long street, a public thoroughfare along the side. It stopped me in my tracks. I had to close the book and walk the rest of the walk home without reading, just thinking. So I actually have the complete works, the complete poems in major prose of Milton right over there. I got it in a thrift store for $8. I knew I wanted to read Paradise Lost, but now I want to read it all. Okay, let's do the good life. 7 objectives and 30 principles that I use to strive to live well, to be a good man, and to make good and effective use of my time. These are: the first objective, to be always ready to die, to have everything in a settled state, my life's work, my relationships, and my affairs. 2, to make good and effective use of time, to not waste time or spend time or, kill time, oh my gosh, but to make good use of it. Oh, to that end, did I get my circle? I sure did. I earned another circle. One more. My gosh, they're going fast. Jeez Louise. Oh, wrong pen. One more, and I get to color the mark on the death calendar. The third objective is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions. Number 5 is to perform good actions. 6 is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunity. And 7 is to do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly and deliberately. Now my 30 principles. Number 1 is the principle of war, to always be fighting against what I think is true and what others propose is true and that I should believe is true. I'm not worried about mundane claims like you've got a new puppy, but I am concerned about big claims like we have a soul and there's someone invisible that cares and has a plan for us. Those things need some grapefruit, actually. Faith alone won't do it. Faith alone, in fact, is a sure sign that there's nothing behind that claim. If it has to, because faith, as Matt Dillahunty says, is the excuse people use when they don't have a better reason to believe. Next is reason, and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt. The third principle is the homunculus, the idea that we don't have a soul, but we do have a consciousness. Number 4 is the Anchorhold, the suggestion that our consciousness is trapped within our heads, can't escape, won't outlive us, can't even really connect with anyone else. In fact, is just a semaphores across a void. Next is the principle of purpose, and the sub-principles of biology, virtue and mission. Biology being the purpose of reproducing and making children, raising them to adulthood and then getting out of the way. Virtue is to live a virtuous life where pursuing the well-being of thinking creatures. And then mission is whatever mission one chooses for their lives. For me, my mission has been the living of the story that I captured in Going Alone, my book, and then relating it in the book, as well as the resulting Good Life Creed, these 7 objectives and 30 principles, which are also explained in the book, which is available on Amazon and at my website, goingalone.org, where you can get a signed copy, no less. Next is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, falling to pieces. And then the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature. It's good to recognize what that is. And then the pirate ride. The idea that free will is not free. We are trapped in the decisions that we make, because the universe has so much to say, an overwhelming amount to say in our choices. We just feel like we're making our own choices, but we're really not. I can't prove that, but I believe it's true. So I hold on to it. That's the one I'm most embarrassed about. I shouldn't believe it, but I do. Then comes majority, and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. And then the social principle, we need each other. And public speaking, a reminder to be careful about what I say and use very few words. And then temperance, the reminder to be careful about how much I consume of work and play and food and drink and everything. Speaking of which, my family's taking me out for a little belated birthday dinner in San Diego tonight at a Gyukaku restaurant there. I plan to overindulge a little bit. Damn the torpedoes with temperance for tonight. Within reason, I'll still be temperate. And then after temperance comes the horror show. The idea that terrible things are waiting for us all and happening all around us right now. Maybe even to us. Maybe even to you. It's coming for me. And then that which must be borne, what we have to carry is the fact of the horror show and the weight and burden of whatever responsibility and the joy of whatever responsibility that we've taken on in life. And then the Feast of Offal. It's what happens when we get upset and kind of let the world know. It's a little bit of the thing that I avoided yesterday when I pulled the fast one over Yumiko and didn't let her know that I wasn't enjoying the moment. But I pretended that I was, so as to not soil her fun. The Feast of Offal. Keeping it inside, dealing with it yourself. It doesn't mean it'll explode later. Not if you let it out in bits and pieces throughout and reason your way through it. And in some ways, just carry it. Just carry the burden. Next comes distraction. We spend our lives distracting ourselves from the seeming emptiness of the universe, a universe without God, so that we don't have to know that we're alone, and we don't have to consider that we won't go on after death. There's 2 principles there: distraction and agency in the great indifference, which is the emptiness of the universe. Next comes the best seat in the house. Do not want to be anyone else, be anywhere else, or be doing anything else, but be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing right now. Right here. Right who. And then the path of wildness. It's a way upward and forward into and through new life. And then the risk of avoiding risk. The deep level risk of finding ourselves, and the surface level risk of education and career and home and family and security in our old age. It's good to try to address both levels. It's tough to do, though. Next comes sin and damnation. And the 7 sins in my world are falsity, being untrue, credulity, believing things that are untrue, faith, belief founded upon belief, which is nonsense, superstition, a category of belief that is categorically identified as nonsense, authority, believing something because someone in a position of power says it's true, dogma, believing something because it's tradition in the blessed way, and look at how many already believe. And then gossip, talking about others behind their back in a way that you'd be embarrassed if you suddenly knew that they were overhearing. Indulge in any of those, and we live a damned life. Damned for our dishonesty, damned for the potential that we may be believing things that are untrue, and damned for our mistreatment of others by talking about them in ways that they wouldn't appreciate. And soil us in our reputation in the process. Next comes complete oblivion. Since there is no God, and we have no soul, there's no afterlife. And when you die, that's the end of you and me. We're not going to see our loved ones again. We're not going to have a chance to make amends, and there will be no justice in any afterlife that doesn't exist. So we better pursue better relations, better connections, and improve justice in this one life that we get. The Great Life Adventure is an admonition to have a hell of an adventure in our youth, in the 20s, typically after college. So between 25 and 30 is the sweet spot. Head out into the world if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But if you get even the slightest inkling that you need to do that, you want to do that, need is the right word, better do it. You will regret it if you don't. You might hide that fact. You might tell yourself that you got just fine, but you really did miss it. And there's a price to pay later, unfortunately. You can try to get it back later with cruises and timeshares and, dude ranches and week in Hawaii. You get a house in Mexico and retire in a community like that. None of it's going to be the same. You're not young anymore. The chance was lost. What can I say? I'm not really speaking to the old now. Your chance is past. You can do your best to mollify and comfort in the time that remains. This message is for the early 20-somethings who feel that urge, and then maybe wondering if they can have the courage to do it. Do it, even if it costs you. Even if it costs you the head start that you might otherwise get. If you wind up back at 30, and your peers that left college and started their career right away are 5 years ahead of you, maybe 1 or 2 rungs up the career ladder. Maybe they've already got a couple of years into the mortgage on the house, and the kid has already arrived, the first, second one's on the way. And you've just come back and broken, beat. Lucky you. Lucky you. You got nothing. What a head start you've got, starting from 0. Less than 0. 5 years you spent pursuing that great life adventure of yours. Everyone else is far ahead. Your folks are probably wondering when are he or she going to settle down in earnest and get started. They didn't know that you've already put away something heavy. You've attended to the deep risk. Remember I said there were the 2 levels of risk? The deep level risk and the surface level risk. The surface level risk being school and educate, career, family, home, and security. The deep level risk of attending to any need that we may feel to find ourselves, to address that thing deep inside that's saying, what about me? Well, maybe it's a little selfish. The hippies were onto something, in fact, and it does look a little selfish. But if you've got that little voice that's, what about me? Asking that, and you don't pay attention to it, it's not going to shut up. Sure, you can stuff it, cover it up with a pillow, but you can still hear it down there. What about me? Later, on that effort that you make in your 60s, it's not going to shut up then either. But when you come back from your great life adventure, the what about me isn't really saying a question anymore. It's a statement. This is me. That was a good use of time. Even if you're back below zero on the other scale, it's a good use of time. You've dealt with that deep risk. Now, you're 30. You've got decades ahead of you to attend to the surface level stuff. And you won't have that pleading voice whispering. Instead, you'll have that statement and that sense and that completion of something that the surface level stuff simply can't address. You can succeed wildly on all of those things, and it would never satisfy that deep question. You've done it though. Good job. Next comes the season of philosophy, a time to record what we've learned along the way, to set it down when the words come. Like this morning, I wrote in my journal already, but then when I went to take a shower, a word came, something else that I wanted to say. It was the sweet spot of the journal, right? It was mundane. It was a mundane paragraph of what I did yesterday. And then suddenly, the bigger thought came. The bigger thought about how, this is the one I was talking about before, that became, when I first started, about how the paradigm can have some depth to it. And I'm not saying it now. See how it passes? The moment passes, right? It's the season of philosophy because it's a brief season. I'm not talking about like being 60 and being able to say interesting things for your entire decade. I'm talking about the fact that the muse shows up all of a sudden, like it's an atmospheric effect. Not really. It's just a little electrical storm in our brain. But the muse shows up and the muse says, "Hey, I got something interesting to say. Here's a few words for you." Blah. You better have a pen and something to write on handy to get it down, because it'll pass. And it's passed for me, but I did get it down. I actually trotted right back over from the restroom, fresh out of the shower, wearing a towel around my waist. Okay, I didn't have a towel. No one's up. Emily's not even here. I sat down and I wrote down what it was. I got it out. So if I encounter that journal entry for May 20, what is it, the 22nd, 2022, and if I read that whole paragraph through, Monday, what the hell? Because I got the muse struck like lightning, right there at the end. That's the season of philosophy. Keeping the pen and writing utensils ready and early. And that is another consequence of the Great Life Adventure. That is something that came as a result of the fact that I love this word, assuaged deep level risk at an early age, and now it pays dividends in my old age. Bam, 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 it comes back. It's like planting seeds early on that then just come back. So the season of philosophy and the great life adventure go hand in hand. If you don't have much of a great life adventure at any point in your life, the season of philosophy will be a, what will it be? It'll be halcyon days of that's too harsh a word. Dull sunshine. Nice days, not bad, right? I mean, in a way, you're kind of lucky because having lived attending only to the surface level risks, you've got a nice, comfortable home and family and security and a good career. We're an honest, solid citizen. You can go down with a gravestone that says, beloved father, beloved mother, and leave it at that. But that's halcyon. That's not unpleasant. But if you've had the great life adventure, or several, then this latter years become punctuated by lightning strikes of the best sense. What the hell was that? Get out of the pit. Oh, gee, holy crap! Where'd that come from? Right? I could be wrong. Those lightning strikes may come in a different way for those that don't attend, that don't have this interest. There's people that don't have this at all. But this has been my experience so far. I don't think that I would be inclined to these lightning strikes if it wasn't for the disposition that I basically is part of my nature, and the resulting life that I chose to live. It's good to address those early desires at an early age for a lifetime of consequence and benefit. Next comes, after the season of philosophy, comes the bullseye aim, striving for the mark but usually missing. The uphill climb, life is a steady trudge, keep on climbing. Arena and utility, keeping our principles handy to use in the pursuit of our objectives. Nothing is enough, a reminder to try to get by with less. And then finally, the principle of fun, a reminder to have a good time. Kurt, have a good time. It doesn't have to be serious, work all the time and serious thoughts, seemingly serious thoughts, compelling thoughts. Enjoy the here and now. Enjoy looking forward into the future, and enjoy the retrospect of the past. And that's it. That's my good life creed, my good life meditation for today. As for today, it's a day off. I'm going to finish this. I'll start the video uploading. I'll read my Bible. I think I'm closing in on the end of maybe not the end of Isaiah, but I think I'm like on Isaiah 49, ending the 40s. And then I will go downstairs. I'll feed the dogs. I'll do my house cleaning. Then Yumiko and I are going to go to AAA to talk to the travel agent there. And then later we'll go to, maybe we can sneak some shopping in. We have a few things to do. And then later we'll go to San Diego. I think Chris and Emily are coming over in the early afternoon. Should be nice. Thanks for joining me. Be safe, but not too safe.